is what's best for business.
I gotta go take a big hairy dump.
Oh my God!
Tonight's main event, a tag team match.
Yes!
Hello everyone and welcome to Let's Talk Wrestling Podcast number 11, the wrestling podcast where we review every segment of Raw and give you the wrestling news of the week. My name is Turbo Tony and we're here with Matt Marsander. How are you doing today, Matt?
Yeah, pretty good today, Turbo. Yourself?
Yeah, not too bad. It was, well, I don't like to say a dull week of wrestling, but it was definitely one of those mid-pay-per-view sort of
Oh yeah,
lulls
sort of that. It's blatantly halfway mark period.
Yeah, there wasn't much news as well. I had to scrape the barrel for sort of news that would entertain our fans.
Something, please, anything.
It wasn't nearly as huge as the CM Punk situation last week, but
that's it.
But nevertheless, we've got an entertaining podcast. We've got definitely lots of our opinions to give you over this week's Raw. And we're also going to add in something we haven't done before. We're going to do a Superstar Spotlight, which we're going to, well, I wouldn't like to say review. We're just going to look over one of the careers of a wrestler we think is coming into the latter stages of his career and go through some of his highlights. And this week we're going to start off with Rey Mysterio, a guy who's been around for quite a while now. And He's a
lot of people just like, oh, Rey Mysterio, you mean that WWE guy? It's like, well, let's not forget, it's WCW as well.
And there's a lot of stuff in his WCW time, and ECW as well. He was in ECW,
That's it.
so. But we'll talk all about that once we get there. That'll be at the end of the podcast after our Raw review. So, like I said, we'll start off with the news there today in regards to wrestling and WWE. The first bit of interesting news that came out today is that Stephanie McMahon did an interview where she talked about the fact that they're going to have all the, obviously with the WWE Network launching, they're going to have all the pay-per-views on a library for you to watch whenever you like. That also will include the 1999 Over the Limit pay-per-view, which is obviously the pay-per-view where Owen Hart tragically died. They will be featuring this pay-per-view. It will be heavily edited around Owen Hart's death. Which
I think they're going to treat it as sort of very similar to as they're going with this match contains Chris Benoit sort of thing.
I don't think they're going to show
Sort of
anything that involves Owen Hart. They'll obviously, what they'll do is that they'll reference the fact that it happened, because you can't really take it out. They talked a lot during the show. I mean, they continued the pay-per-view after the incident occurred.
After the event, yeah.
So obviously, listen, like the commentators did not really want to. They weren't upbeat at all throughout the remainder of this pay-per-view, and obviously so. But I kind of see why they would do this in terms of they want to put it out there. But I think that it's sort of it's a grey area, really. I can understand people not wanting this pay-per-view to be put up for certain reasons, but if they're going to edit out all the horrendous stuff that was on there at that time, then that's to that degree, I guess it's okay, in that sense.
Oh, that's it.
One thing I would do if I were them is I would make a reference to the Raw show that they did the day after, where they did a tribute to Owen Hart and the things that happened there. I would probably put some of that on. I know they're not going to put every Raw on, but if you're going to put this event on, then surely you've got to put the Raw on.
Oh, definitely. Sort of seems like just like a nod towards it.
Yeah.
If they're not going to show it, then at least show the tribute.
Yeah, some of the tribute videos and everything like that. Well, I'd love to hear our subscribers' thoughts on that. Whether they think what they think about this, whether they think it should be put on, whether it's disrespectful to Owen Hart or his family to have this pay-per-view put on there. But I kind of look at it in both ways. At the end of the day, if they're gonna, it matters how they edit it. If they don't edit it very well, then it could come off very bad. But we'll see how it goes there anyway. I just thought it was quite interesting, that pay-per-view that they were going to.
They're actually willing to put it on.
Yeah. Which, at the end of the day, when they did this with Chris Benoit, they said they're going to be putting a disclaimer at the start about Chris Benoit, all the matches that he was involved in and stuff. Then at least they're trying to make a conceited effort to try and give you all the program that they promised you. But this is the sort of, like I said, it's the sort of a grey.
The following match contains a murdering psychopath.
Yes, that's it. So yeah, that is there. We'd like to hear your thoughts on that as well. The second and last bit of news, there really wasn't anything. I really did look around, and throughout the week I was trying to find something that we could talk about. But the news and the consensus around backstage WWE is Del Rio is set to leave. He's going to leave after his contract has ended. He's very unhappy with the fact that he is being basically fed to wrestlers more. Batista more.
I was going to say, especially Batista recently.
I mean, when you look back on it, actually, Batista returning seems to have got a lot of people up in arms. You know, CM Punk, he's friends with Batista, but the fact that he got brought back and got put in the main event is one of the reasons why CM Punk walked out. And then Del Rio's obviously not happy being fed to Batista.
Well, I've
so he
heard
said
reports to say otherwise, that it actually has nothing to do with Batista.
Yeah, they do say that. Listen, this isn't just something that that CM Punk is. I mean, we're going back into last week's conversation now, but this is something that he's been unhappy with the direction of the company for a while. So
Yeah.
Yeah, apparently Del Rio's unhappy with the way that his character's been booked. He used to be champion, you know, he was World Heavyweight Champion, he was WWE Champion for a while. I think
he has held all the major titles since.
I think he's a bit naive to think that he should be champion now. He doesn't get that much of a fan reaction. I don't see Del Rio as a guy that you can build a show around.
I saw a sort of like a Q&A sort of thing, and it was just like, would we ever see Del Rio face again? And it's just like one word: Ricardo.
Yeah, that's it.
And that's it. That is just the deciding. Like, oh, we want Del Rio face again. Well, get Ricardo back.
Yeah, I mean, when he was doing his face run anyway, Ricardo was more over than Del Rio was anyway. So
yeah, it's sort of like Del Rio was over because he was friends. He was the friend of Ricardo.
Sort of, yeah. And they did have that really good storyline that I did like of him against Jack Swagger coming up to WrestleMania, which set up the whole thing there. But yeah, I mean, if you look on that, I mean, apart from his WrestleMania match that he had where he was champion, it's been a steady decline for Del Rio. But I think he's kind of in the spot in which case his crowd reaction kind of deserves him to be. He's not exactly, he doesn't get nowhere near the crowd response as, let's say, Daniel Bryan does. They're not even in the same league, you know. Daniel Bryan gets a huge crowd response every time. Del Rio struggles to get any, you know, crowd response. So I think that WWE are going to miss Del Rio, maybe a little bit at the beginning, but it's not going to
I
really
wouldn't
be that
say so.
I don't think they're going to miss him as much as they would, let's say, CM Punk, because they put a lot more stock into CM Punk. But yeah, I thought that was interesting as well. I'm not entirely sure when Del Rio's contract is up. I think it's relatively soon, so we could see him leaving.
Yeah, apparently he's got like 4 or 5 months left.
Yeah, roughly the same as CM Punk, really. Coming into the summer months, will be when he leaves. Now, how he's utilised between now and then, obviously he's been kind of built up only to be fed to other wrestlers. We've seen that with Batista, and that will be happening at the Chamber as well. So you know, I can at the end of the day, I don't see him as being a guy that really needs WWE to get his paycheck. You know, at the end of the day, like he's, as far as I've heard, he's pretty good with his cash, and he can walk into a lot of different companies or anything like that. He's a little bit like you know, the original Sin Cara Mystico. That he can probably go to Mexico and just make a lot of money there. He doesn't need WWE's paycheck to survive. So he's got that free reign to leave if he wants to. So yeah, that's all the news really. It wasn't really that much. It was a bit of a lull at this time. I don't expect many weeks to have this little amount of wrestling news. But next week we might have another wrestler set to leave the company. We'll just be doing the segment of who's set to leave WWE every single week.
Yeah, who goes next?
So is there anything else you want to cover there, Matt, or shall we just move swiftly into our?
I think it's move swiftly on there. I've got nothing else that really comes to mind.
It was quite a dull week, wasn't it?
There wasn't
anything really.
I mean, I heard news that JR is getting a Podcast One show, and that made me happy.
Yeah, I mean that was the consensus for a while, wasn't it? That he was set in to do the podcast. I think he said as well that he was setting that up. So yeah, good for him. That should be interesting. You'll probably end up getting Jericho and Stone Cold on there more than likely.
Stone Cold's his first guest.
Yeah, I thought that would be, yeah. Raw review anyway. This Raw was obviously this Raw and the next Raw was kind of the midpoint. Oh no, next Raw is the go home to Chamber, isn't it? I'm sure it is.
No, Chamber's not.
We've got another midway. Okay, I'm getting my dates wrong. So yeah, we've got this Raw here. This happens with WWE. If you've watched WWE programming for a couple of years, you'll notice this. In the middle of the run-up to a pay-per-view, the Raws in between will not be as a good quality as
very quiet.
Yeah, it will do. It's to build up the show rather than be a generally good show as it is. And the theme of this show was throwaway. There was a lot of throwaway matches. There was a few good matches on the show. One very good one, but we might as well get along with it now. The show started off with Orton anyway. He coming up with his with a promo we've heard for weeks and weeks now.
I don't like the fact that I've got to have a match. Shut up, Orton.
Yeah, he's just boohoo. I've got a match. You think as a professional wrestler he'd be expected to wrestle matches?
Yeah. And your job title? I'm a wrestler. Okay. And what do you do? I don't wrestle.
So yeah, he was moaning that the Authority is putting him in these matches and he should be getting more respect and everything. This is exactly what we've been hearing from him since he pretty much got the belts.
Yep. That's what I like to call whinging Orton.
Orton, yeah. And it's fair enough. He wants to do that every now and then, but at this point, it's getting stale. It's getting boring. We've seen Orton do the same spiel for a very long time. It's just getting a little bit samey. And Who Behold came out. There was actually one note. He stated in Evolution that him and Batista were equals. He said something along the lines that everyone in Evolution was equals. I'm sure that wasn't the case with Triple H winning all those belts.
Yes, because rookie Orton was on as an equal with Triple H and Flair.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, even, you look at that whole storyline when he won the belt and Triple H was like, "No, I'm having that," and yeah, a month later Triple H beat him for the belt. So
that's it.
And of course, Randy Orton beat Stevie Richards to become champion. That's the way that it goes. So, because he who shall not be named was the one he beat. So
that's it.
The
unnameable man.
The unnameable. So yeah, Authority came out and interrupted him. Basically said that they think they may have made a mistake, and Daniel Bryan may be the new face of the WWE, and they set up a match.
Well, they didn't specifically name that Daniel Bryan should be the next one, but
they inclined to that.
They did incline, and so I was like, I hate it. I can't believe I'm about to say this, but sort of way.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, what they're setting up here. They're basically going to try and sow the seeds that the Authority aren't going to back Orton, and when it comes to push comes to shove, the Authority will back Orton. That's the way it will go. After all the stuff that they've done with Daniel Bryan, it's sort of silly of them to think that the fans are going to expect the Authority to suddenly go, okay, yeah, we've just been beating this guy down for 6 months, but actually we got it wrong. Let's just let's push him now. It just seems a bit silly, in terms of their storylines, not the backstage,
Yeah.
So yeah, that seems a bit silly, but yeah, they seem to try and be sowing the seeds between Orton and the Authority, but in the end, when the push comes to shove, the Authority will back Orton in storyline. That's the way it'll go. They do this sometimes to get people thinking, there might be a run in, maybe Kane or maybe Triple H will run in and it looks like he's going to attack Orton, but then he pedigrees whoever he's facing and gives Orton the win or something like that.
No, that's it.
That's probably how it'll end up going down. More likely will be Daniel Bryan, which will probably set up that match between Daniel Bryan and Triple H, which CM Punk was scheduled in for, but there's obviously changed now. So I didn't really like this segment to start up Raw. I thought it was a little bit dull. It got the fan response obviously because they just
it didn't get the fan response.
No, at the end when they dropped Daniel Bryan's name, it got the fan.
Oh yeah.
What
I was going to say I was sort of like the fans really couldn't care about this opening promo. All they wanted to do was chant CM Punk at the Authority.
There was a lot of CM Punks during the chants.
And it wasn't even during this opening promo. It was like the theme of the night half the time.
The whole thing about CM Punk, just so I can address this so I don't forget, I get fans wanting to cheer CM Punk, but I've heard a few shows being hijacked because of that. It's a little bit disrespectful to the wrestlers that are still there, and I don't fully agree with CM Punk walking out. He's still in contract. So the guy is contracted to wrestle. He signed that contract to wrestle to a certain point. He's technically breaking his contract. He could get sued by WWE if that was the case, and he would lose because he's contracted to wrestle. That's the way it is.
That's it.
Now, I like to do things very professionally, and if I've got a contract to do something towards a certain time, unless it's been terminated by the company, then I will do what I've signed on the dotted line to do.
That's it.
The fans chanting, "We want CM Punk, we want CM Punk." Maybe they should take their frustrations out on CM Punk because he's the one who chose to go home. He's the one who chose not to adhere to the conditions of his contract. Whether you agree with the reasons why he left is kind of irrelevant at that fact. He signed on the dotted line, but
that's it.
We went into that a lot last week, didn't we? Anyway, so the actual match that started off the show was the Shield versus Mysterio, Langston, and Kofi Kingston.
Yeah,
this set up a couple of matches that basically built up the two tag matches for their match at the Elimination Chamber, the Shield against the Wyatt family. Mm-hmm. The match here was throwaway, wasn't it? I mean, that's the theme of the show, wasn't it? It wasn't.
It was sort of just like a quick. We need a match. Yeah, that'll do.
Yeah, that sort of thing. Yeah, I mean, the noteworthy thing here is that Ambrose stole the victory from Reigns when Reigns went, basically went ballistic and decided to destroy the opposition, as he does on occasion now. And Ambrose used his finisher, which is that sort of reverse DDT sort of thing.
Yeah, the sort of facebuster DDT.
Yeah. And he got the pinfall, in which they started arguing, and that stopped when the Wyatts came up on the screen, and Bray Wyatt. We can sing his accolades all day long. We've been doing that really since we started the podcast.
I don't think we need to.
Yeah,
we
talk
are
about how great he is on the mic. Yeah, but yeah, at least the other members of the Wyatt family were chiming in, with their thoughts and stuff. They're not nearly as good as Bray Wyatt, but that's the reason why Bray Wyatt is the focal point of the group. I think it's still pretty creepy having the sheep head Eric Rowan come onto the screen and just saying "run" at the end of his promo, which I think is really, really good. I think they could do that.
It's a nice touch.
Yeah, so I like that. I like the promos. Obviously, I can't really say much bad about a Bray Wyatt promo. They're always pretty good, but it's built up well to their match, and I'm really excited for their match against the Shield. So,
and I still really want it to be an Elimination Chamber match.
I
don't care. I would love it.
I think if you have an Elimination Chamber match, that's the peak of what you could do with these guys. That would be absolutely excellent. But
yeah, it would just really much be right, and that's done.
What I would love for these two groups to do is to have that, and I know it wouldn't happen anyway. This is just fantasy booking. I know it wouldn't happen, but them to have it actually after the title match, and then have those guys just trash that fucking cell, just go mental.
Completely destroy it.
Yeah, because they are well willing to do some crazy spots. Can you imagine Seth Rollins jumping on top of pods and Roman Reigns spearing people and Sister Abigail on the outside? Oh, it's just too good. It's too good.
Yeah.
There's spots that they could do here, but it's not. I doubt it's going to happen very much so. But there we are. We came to a very sort of just horrible section of this show, which kind of ran throughout the majority of it. And this started off with Bad News Barrett having his segment.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, Jerry Lawler chimed in and said that maybe next week you won't be around, Bad News Barrett, because Bad News Barrett was saying that we're all going to die again, which is lovely of him. Jerry Lawler coming into this segment just made it even more terrible, unfortunately. I do like Jerry Lawler, but he just comes off very scripted and very sort of, this is it, done. I've said my line in Jerry Lawler fashion, and I'm gone.
Yeah.
To anyone who wants to see classic Jerry Lawler, go back and watch some of the 2000 era sort of, or 2003 era sort of Jerry Lawler, when he still had his wit about him and he could make very good jokes on the fly. Probably the best one I ever seen was anyone can win this match, even Val Venus, because he knows how to rise to the occasion. Stuff like that. Just brilliant. You wouldn't get that from Jerry Lawler nowadays.
Is that probably just like nudge, nudge, wink, wink, like, sort of joke to that?
That's it. With the whole Bad News Barrett of it, I'm kind of done with this. It's not entertaining. I don't hate Barrett as a heel, which is what he's going for. He's just coming off as annoying.
Nothing Barrett now.
Yeah, it's nothing.
It's really. Like we said last week, WWE are fucked up when a Brit doesn't care about Wade Barrett.
Yeah, that's it. They have messed up this character. And the thing is, it had potential. They could have really done Bad News Barrett so well. You could have had Bad News Barrett as the authorities' vocal point. He would be the guy to come out and say, you're fighting the Wyatts or something like this, and take great pleasure in giving it. The thing is, he's not really giving bad news. He's just saying that everyone's going to die.
Yeah.
It
was
more
a Super Bowl.
Barrett,
it was a Super Bowl. I bet you drank loads of beer and ate loads of fatty food. Yeah. Good, you're going to have a heart attack. Bye now.
Yeah, that's essentially
it was Christmas. Oh, you bet you had loads of turkey and stuffing and loads of fatty foods and beer. Well, you're going to have a heart attack. Bye now.
It's not really bad news. It's just him just being a typical heel. There's more you could do with this character, but they haven't.
Yeah.
And it's dying of death. I think it's on life support. He needs to get in the ring, or they need to change this. Even if he gets in the ring and he doesn't change his promos.
Like, he needs to get in the ring and he needs to destroy something.
Yeah. He needs to make people think
it's he got a win. No, he needs to destroy someone.
Yeah, yeah. Even if he does that, though, if he doesn't change these promos, then people just aren't going to care.
Oh, yeah. That's true. He might as well just come out with, like, a big black cape and a scythe.
Yeah, just bury himself. Why not?
Yeah, that's it. That's it. WrestleMania 30. Buried Alive match. Undertaker and Wade Barrett.
In a squash match.
Yeah.
And that would be literally, they wouldn't call it a buried alive match. It would be the first ever buried alive squash match. They would actually, say it, advertise it.
Just Taker literally just pushes him.
Yeah.
Just like, boss, you fell in the coffin.
And everyone cheers, shouting yes as Daniel Bryan comes out. And
that's it.
That seems like a feel good moment to an 80s dark sitcom or something. I don't know. Anyway, we had the next match. Anyway, kind of moving swiftly on from the whole Bad News Barrett crap. Christian went against Jack Swagger. It's really good to see Christian back.
That's it.
He's been good to wrestle for a while. They just haven't used him, but he is set to wrestle in the Chamber, which I think is ironic because they did a huge video package when he last wrestled He wrestled Del Rio for the belt, if you remember. I think it was.
Yes.
I think it was a SummerSlam. Was it? I think it was SummerSlam.
Like it was a while back.
Yeah, and they did a huge promo saying that this is his last match for the belt. One more chance. Well, it looks like he's got another one, but I'm not really gonna.
I'm not going to care. Like, we've got Batista who came back after 4 years. We've got the New Age Outlaws who came back after 14 years. I don't care so much that if Christian comes back 6 months later.
Yeah. And Christian in his current state could wrestle circles around those guys, and he's still very, very good. So I've got no qualms with that. And he's not as if he's going to win this. You know what I mean? That's different.
Not bad for the weaker one of a tag team.
Yeah, exactly.
I'd hate to say that, but it's true.
It is. Listen, I'm a huge fan of Christian, and I do enjoy his work. He's a fantastic wrestler. But
I'm a much bigger fan of Edge.
Yeah, if you compare listen, just look at the hard facts. When you put Christian next to Edge, the titles are just shockingly different.
That's it.
You got Edge, multiple-time World Heavyweight Champion, WWE Champion. Christian is a 2-time World Heavyweight Champion, and he got one of those basically because Edge retired, sort of thing. Yeah. I don't want to say anything bad against Christian. I love his wrestling style. He's had some fantastic matches. This match itself wasn't. It was okay. It was it was sort of a throwaway match. It wasn't anything sort of special.
I think it was. What was it? It was a SmackDown rematch. Even though I don't think, rematch or not, Swagger wasn't going to get his spot in the Chamber.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was just a match to. It was a match to build up Christian because they're trying to build up all the guys that are going into the Chamber, which I kind of agree with. Or
to further slate sort of slate Swagger and put Cesaro up an accolade again.
Yeah, I mean, you look at Cesaro's face when Christian got the victory here. It was priceless. Just the look of utter expected disappointment from Cesaro was. It's
classic. Just like, you know what? I fucking knew it.
Yeah. But listen, you and me both have known for ages, and anyone who watches the show, the real star of the whole. The all-American, real Americans, what they like to call themselves, is Cesaro in the ring, and if on the mic it's Zeb Coulter. Unfortunately for Jack Swagger, he's the third. He's the last on the prong, really, which is,
it's like we can't be a tag team and a manager without a third person. Swagger.
Yes, yeah. I mean, with Cesaro, he's fantastic in the ring. He's not that good on the mic, Cesaro. I will agree with that. But his performances in the ring are sort of on the par with Bret Hart, where he can tell a story in the ring. So he doesn't really need to do sort of promos.
Definitely.
You do need to do promos, obviously. I don't want people to say that, but you know what I mean. He's that good in the ring that he can let his wrestling do the talking when it comes to that time. So would I like to see maybe Zeb Coulter and Cesaro break off and do singles and really push those two as a group? Then that's fine. But then what do you do with Jack Swagger, because he's stuck there in no man's land?
You do what you usually do with Jack Swagger, just put him on the shelf until you find something else to do.
Yeah, exactly. That's pretty much been his career, really. Even when he won the title, it was pretty much because we've got nothing else for you to do.
I forgot he won. There's so many people sort of he's a former world heavyweight champion. He's like, really?
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah, so that's the majority of his career. Look, Swagger can have a decent match. He just doesn't have enough of them. That's the problem with him. And he isn't as gifted as Cesaro in the ring. Cesaro can get really good fan reactions, and I just think that there's more to Cesaro than Swagger at this point. So sort of cookie cutter match. Like I said, the theme of the show was a throwaway. This was a throwaway match. I wouldn't go out of your way to watch this match. It wasn't anything special. The next match, however, was special because it was appallingly poor. We had the match which was set last week. This is supposed to be the big match of the show. This was the steel cage match.
That wasn't main event. How can you not have a main event as your cage? We need a cage for this.
Yeah, I mean, if they knew this match was going to be as bad as it was, then maybe they did the right thing putting this in the middle of the show, because the main event just was leagues better than this match.
Oh, definitely.
So yeah, anyway, New Age Outlaws against the Rose Brothers steel cage match. They may as well not have had the cage in there, really. I don't understand why they would have a cage match and then have them tag each other in the cage. It seems very odd.
Yeah, they usually sort of like, the moment the cage comes down, it pretty much switches to tornado tag.
Yeah, like, there's no DQ anyway, so why wouldn't you just double team them or just fight as a team? There's no DQ in a cage match, so it just seems really odd to have these guys tagging up. Oh. This is I'm going to go on record here, this has to be one of the worst steel cage matches I've ever watched.
Agreed.
It was so poor.
The fact that you genuinely got, like, what was it, a use the cage chant?
Yeah.
And it's just like, because it was true, it was just like, you're in a cage. Not a single person has been rammed into the wall yet.
Yeah. There was I think there was only one bit which I think genuinely, well, two bits, obviously, counting the end, but one bit apart from the big ending, which we'll talk about in a second as well, was that Goldust missed one of his dives and then his back slammed against the cage, which got a decent response, but that was pretty much the only time that the cage...
That was the start of it, though. There was a few sort of like heads against the cage sort of thing.
Yeah, but
I was just the whole time just watching it, it's just like, yeah, average.
It was painfully average, this match.
Give it a 4 out of 10.
Well, sorry, no, I don't think it was painfully average. I think it was painfully poor. I think this, like I said, was one of the worst matches I've ever watched inside of a steel cage.
So the one thing I don't quite understand is apparently Road Dogg's getting no heat from that moonsault.
Yeah, we'll talk about that moonsault now. So
he took none of that.
Yeah, go on. You explain the end of the match anyway, because you can play by play for a little bit, and I'll just rest here in my everlasting podcast glory. Go on.
So we've literally had that sort of, Road Dogg sort of fighting Cody as Cody's trying to climb the cage. Obviously, you got the announcers like, "Oh no, maybe he doesn't understand the rules." But as we've heard and seen videos from house shows, Cody's been practicing moonsaults off the top of the cage.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, what looked like a picture perfect moonsault was ruined because Road Dogg basically sidestepped him.
Yeah.
And
when
would have
Cody...
been like part catch, part bump. It literally Cody just took a 15-foot fall.
Yeah. Right onto his knees as well.
Yeah.
Which was horrible. When they practiced this, it wasn't Road Dogg who was the guy who was catching him. So I think that was...
No, they did those against Real Americans.
Yeah. So, I'd much rather have Cesaro down there or Swagger catching me, big, tough guys that are going to be able to break my fall. Yeah. Road Dogg, literally at the last moment, was there. He was ready to catch him and decided at the last moment, I don't want any part of this shit. Sidestepped and basically bumped. And Cody Rhodes...
took 15 foot of fall damage to his knees.
Yeah. He looked as if this would really hurt him. I haven't heard any news that he's been legitimately really badly injured.
I've seen pictures of a brace, but yeah, no.
Yeah, but like you can't come off that and not feel that. That was horrendous. And the guy doesn't wear knee pads as it is. That must have been...
he does. He does now.
Well, yeah. He went through that period, didn't he, when he was... I think it was Dashing Cody Rhodes, wasn't it, where he didn't wear knee pads or anything.
I don't think it was Dashing. I think we were talking way back Legacy.
Oh, yeah. But yeah, this looked horrible. It really was. The moonsault itself was performed well. It was just the landing.
Oh yeah, that's what I'm saying. It was a perfect moonsault. It was just a really bad execute.
Yeah. Now
Road Dogg's like, "Yep, I'm safe. I've got you. Fuck this."
Yeah, and he basically, I mean, it looked bad because he barely caught Road Dogg because Road Dogg moved out of the way, and Road Dogg was selling it as if he's been, super kicked from fucking Shawn Michaels. He went straight down and out and everything. But he looked bad.
Quick famouser and
then they got the win. This was horrendous, and I feel bad saying that because you look at the Rhodes brothers; they've been having 5-star matches for a lot of 2013.
Against the right people. That's the only.
Yeah, you're completely right, Matt. You are completely right. They were wrestling the likes of the Shield, who have been having great matches. And other tag teams that they've been going against, the Wyatt family, they had good matches against them.
Yeah.
They even had a halfway decent match against Mysterio and Big Show, if you remember. They had that.
Yes.
That match. But against New Age Outlaws, they remind me a little bit of Batista at the moment. They just don't have the stamina to perform to the pace that these guys are ready to go. I'm big fans of New Age Outlaws, but they're not. They can't really perform in these sorts of scale of matches.
I think Gunn can.
To a degree, yeah. But even then, he blows out after a while. But you expect it of these guys. They're not exactly young ducklings now. And you look at the pace at which Goldust has increased his wrestling, and Cody Rhodes is always of a fast.
Always been fast paced. Yeah, I mean, they mentioned it's been 14 years since the last time the New Age Outlaws held the belts,
and it shows, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So less said about that match, the better. It was a horrendous match.
There was one thing beforehand. There was just like a little promo things, like next week's guest host,
Betty White.
As a British fan, let me say, woo. I don't care.
Yeah. Betty White's okay, I guess.
I know who Betty White is because I watch it because half of my TV that I watch comes from America, so I have a rough understanding of who Betty White is.
Yeah.
But it's just like, oh my god, this is like the greatest news ever, and I'm just sat here just like, I couldn't care less.
We're on the fringe. We know who Betty White is, but anyone who's older than us obviously might have watched the shows that she was involved in, like the Golden Girls and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But like anyone younger than us, which is pretty much the demographic that WWE is shooting for, are not going to know who she is.
Yeah,
but Betty White, I like Betty White anyway because she's one of those girls who just women. She acts like a girl. You know what I mean? She says what she thinks. So that's fair enough. But yeah, it seems a bit odd that Betty White's going to be on the show. This should be interesting anyway. I'm sure she'll be up for something. Maybe she'll do a Mae Young style powerbomb, Bubba Ray style onto off the arena.
Well, we did have that promo later on in the day of that. What's his name? Kusev or whatever.
Alexander Rusev. Yeah,
Rusev. That's it. Like he's coming back, so maybe he'll be the one to drop the Bubba bomb.
Yeah, sure. Why not? Oh dear! If she does that, she'll enter the annals of history. She deserves a Hall of Fame induction if she goes through that. So, but
Betty backbreaking White.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, awesome. And I'm sure that Betty White, if she got trained for 5 minutes, can probably wrestle than half the divas on there. But we won't go into that. Yeah. We had. I've got a new name for Titus O'Neil because he was in a match next. It's Titus O'Heel.
Ooh.
Oh yeah, you like that?
But you know what the one thing about this match?
Go on.
Oh my fucking god, it's Zack Ryder!
Yeah, he emerged from the shadows of which his career resides in, and
in new gear, and he looks bigger built recently.
Yeah, well, you must still obviously have the time. He's not wrestling that many matches. He can get into the gym. So Titus O'Heel, as I'm going to call him throughout the majority of his heel run, he got the win here. The one thing I didn't like about this is that Ryder got a lot of offense during this match, and it didn't look good on Titus. He was getting his ass kicked for a lot of this match.
Oh, he got the that boot.
The broski boot.
With the broski boot.
Yeah. And
the fact that the crowd genuinely wooed with Ryder as well.
Yeah.
And it wasn't even just like 4 or 5 people in the crowd just going, woo.
I'm surprised they actually remembered that chant. He hasn't been on Raw for God knows how long. So.
That's it. But it's the fact that there was a very strong woo, woo, woo before the broski boot.
Yeah, yeah. Did you woo, Matt? Did you?
I did a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit.
I was quite happy. I was happy seeing Zack Ryder come back because it's not the fact. I used to watch the Long Island Story and all that lot.
Yeah, when he was
and I did quite like it.
Yeah,
back when he sort of how he earned his US title shot sort of thing, essentially. But yeah, I used to watch that and I used to enjoy it. But yeah, it's been a while, and I think he's got quite a different style of offense rather than just generic.
I think the problem with Zack Ryder is that he got himself a push throughout doing that, and WWE kind of sandbagged in the fact they forced the show to be put onto their WWE YouTube channel, which I think kind of really hurt it. For anyone who knows kind of YouTubing, if you move a channel to a different network without kind of making any reference to it, then all that subscriber base that have been built up, or the fans that have been watching the show, will more than likely not switch over with it. That's the way that it works. So yeah, the thing is with Ryder, when he came in, he got into the ascendancy. I think the problem with him was that he came off as really goofy, and people didn't like that. He came off as almost like a John Cena light with his character, not in terms of winning every match, just the way he was goofy and he was always up for being happy and stuff. It just didn't come off.
Oh come on, we had him singing Rebecca Black's Friday, one WrestleMania.
Yeah, and that's horrendous. So.
Do you know who I blame for Zack Ryder?
Go on.
Like for what happened to him? I blame Cena.
Yeah, to a degree.
And Eve Torres.
Yeah. That whole storyline was not built. He was like put into the main event storyline of that, but he was built to make John Cena hates Kane more. That was his whole sort of. That was his job. In that segment, he was not built to look good throughout that whole thing.
No, not at all.
And I think he finally got his match, didn't he, with Kane, and Kane just obliterated the guy. So that was the end of his push. Essentially, he was out of it. Bye
Ryder. There was actually one thing about that match I really didn't understand.
Go on.
And it's sort of like a little offshoot. Where the hell did the Miz come from?
Yeah, I was actually.
And what was he talking about?
The one thing I could see.
Oh, he's got this guy who he shouldn't be on Raw. Oh, sorry, Miz. Would you like to get your head kicked in?
Yeah. it seemed a little bit odd to me. The reason being is that he came out and obviously did this. It's obviously part of a storyline. He didn't just come out there for no reason.
Yeah.
Maybe they're doing it that wrestlers are going to start coming out and talking out against the Shield and the booking and stuff like that. Maybe they're building towards that and the yes movement or something. Maybe Miz will join that because he's. But the thing is with Miz, he's so insignificant now over the last year or two. It doesn't really make much of a difference. And
it's like you've main evented WrestleMania once, Miz. You're never going to see that again.
And, Jerry Lawler did make a very poignant view. He was pretty much like, well, we're not going to be able to change it. We haven't got the power of the authority. And he's completely right. In storyline, they don't. So I don't understand why you'd come out and have a moan at them, really. But, maybe they'll make it so he wanted to make it out on national television. And I don't know. I don't see this going very far. Maybe it's just the start of maybe more wrestlers coming out saying, I'm unhappy with the product. I'm going to, I should be wrestling here and there. But we'll see how it goes there from anyway. So, like I said, the middle of the show was pretty horrendous. It continued with the next section. We had a dance-off. All the dance-offs on Raw are shocking. This was no exception. We had Summer Rae and Emma who did the dance-off here. This is the thing. I really like Emma. She's a fantastic wrestler. I've seen one of her. If anyone wants to see some of her wrestling, if you go back in YouTube, WWE has it up on their YouTube channel. Paige against Emma for the NXT Divas Championship was the first match for that championship. Mm-hmm. You will see probably one of the best Divas matches or women's wrestling matches under a WWE roof for years. It was spectacular. That match, very very good. So she can go, fantastic wrestler. The problem is, and I've said this before, her gimmick from NXT will not work on WWE programming on Raw, and they decided that they were going to go with that NXT thing, and it flopped. There was no response. People were just like, "What the fuck is this?" It's not. I
think they were sort of expecting it to be the new Fandangoing, and it's just no. It's not. People aren't going to stand around and do the bowl dance. No. I'm sorry.
You might get one or two people doing it just for the sake of it, but the reason why it works at NXT is because it's a small arena. In small arenas, that sound bounces off. Everyone gets into it because it's fun. You don't get that in a big arena. In the general WWE fan base are not going to want to participate in this. They're just going to see it as really off. I thought they would change it. I thought they'd go something different, but they're not. And it's really... and the only reason why she got cheered at the end to win it is because Santino was really endorsing her, big time. And Santino got a response.
Who's going to cheer for Summer Rae? Yeah. But who's going to cheer for Emma? Yeah. It's just like,
that's it. So, that's the end of it. But
at least she didn't get booed.
No, she didn't get booed, but I mean, at the end of the day, even if she got booed, there's something there. But the fact is that she got nothing at all. There was no fan reaction for her, and it's down to WWE's booking. They should have known that this gimmick of hers, while great in NXT because it works in a small arena environment, is not going to work in front of 20,000 fans.
Especially when you're talking like an NXT, you pretty much have like an ECW sort of feel to the place.
Exactly. So they're going to get into that sort of thing and they're going to beef it up, but it's not going to work. They have to realise that some gimmicks in NXT are not going to work in front of a big audience, in front of the general wrestling populace. At NXT, you've got diehard wrestling fans there who want to chant, who want to get involved. A lot of the crowds in Raw do not want that same thing. They want to watch entertainment, and that wasn't their sort of form of entertainment. I hope that they clear this up and they give her something good, because she's good, Emma. This is one of the women that I said back in when we did the second episode of LTW podcast, that they could build a Divas division around this woman and Paige and AJ Lee and Natalya. If they pick those four girls and they really build those four girls up, then they have something there. Emma, I think, deserves to be along those pantheon in terms of her wrestling abilities. She could wrestle circles around a lot of people on that roster. So, are you under the same sort of thoughts of that, really, or?
Yeah, pretty much.
Do you think
I thought it was just a wasted, sort of like almost like a wasted opportunity to really introduce someone.
Yeah, it was. Do you think they're going to ruin Emma? I think they are. I think they are going to ruin her.
It's too early to tell.
I'm really afraid that they're going to ruin her, and they're going to try and get this dancing gimmick going along. It's just not going to work. Hopefully I eat my words. Maybe they'll go to a town and it'll be like the Fandangoing, but even the Fandangoing doesn't work in every town. Sometimes he comes out and gets no response.
Yeah, that's it.
And if that happens, and people are just going to be looking at her like, why is she doing that really crazy, weird dance that isn't really a dance sort of thing? It's just
just popping her arms out.
And the fact that Summer Rae actually danced very, very well, so there is that. So
yeah.
Next up, anyway, there was a promo. There was a few promos of shows that are going to be on the WWE Network on this Raw, and rightly so.
Legends House. Yeah.
There was one earlier on the show, it was like WWE Countdown. I didn't reference it because they actually do that sort of thing on their WWE YouTube channel anyway, so it's not really a new show of theirs. But this one has been one that's been taped for ages. This has actually been in their tape library for, I think, roundabout since they first announced that they're going to be doing the network. I remember a couple of years ago when they announced it was coming up, and then it got postponed. So they've had Legends House in the bank, just waiting to go. This was filmed, over a year and a half ago, I think. A long time ago, anyway, that's for sure. And they showed a promo of it here. This show looks so horrible, it will likely be amazingly entertaining. It looks like it's going to be so cheesy and so wrong that I'm going to have to watch it.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And because of that, it will be amazing, and I'll sing its praises, and I'll be happy. I mean, it's Legends, come on.
I mean, who have we got? We've got, we've got Mean Gene.
Roddy Piper. Jim Duggan.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of them in there.
It's really bad that I've just I've only just finished watching Real about not even sort of an hour ago, and already I can't remember.
They were showing a lot of stuff that they do. Oh yeah, Jimmy Hart was in there as well.
How can we forget Mouth of the South?
Yeah. So I'm genuinely excited for this show, Legends House, because it's basically Big Brother. I know it's all scripted, half the stuff that you're going to do in there anyway, but it's basically Big Brother with all the people I'd want to see in a Big Brother house. So, as a wrestling fan, so that's fine with me. And this looks very, like I said, some of it looks just really odd. Some of the segments that they did on it just looked like, what the fuck are they doing? But that's the sort of stuff that's going to make me just giggle like a little wrestling mark, and I'll be happy to watch the show. So that's fine. But I'll have to watch it next year because we're not getting the network until next year. So.
That's it.
We're gonna have to wait even longer. That's gonna be odd, isn't it? Seeing all these legends, and they're gonna be like 3 years older than what we're watching on the Legends House. We're gonna be like, they aged since.
Wow.
Okay. So yeah, the next match as well. Throwaway is the theme of the show, Matt. This next match was another throwaway show. Sheamus against Curtis Axel.
I will be brutally honest here. I didn't watch it.
Yeah. I wouldn't blame you. This match was. I did watch it for the sake of giving you guys information on the podcast. As I am the play-by-play, Matt gets away with it. So
yeah,
yeah, that's why you like being the colour commentator of this podcast, isn't it?
That's it. I can get away with it.
Exactly. And you are a ghost of the internet, so you probably have that data somewhere inside of you. For anyone who's listened to episodes before, we don't know Matt's true identity. He kind of revealed that he is a ghost who lives inside the internet, who speaks to me during wrestling podcasts.
That's it.
And he has short hair.
Like the whole Ghost in the Shell sort of thing.
Yeah, and you have a girlfriend computer program.
Digi girlfriend.
Yeah, Digi girlfriend. That's it. Good for you, Matt. Good for you. So anyway, continuing on. I'm sure there's like a new fan. It's just like, what the fuck are these guys talking about? Listen to the other ones, you'll get it. Go on, you'll figure it out from there. So yeah, this was a throwaway match. It wasn't that good. Sheamus got the victory, and Ryback looked like he was going to get into the ring to square off, which probably is going to build up to a Sheamus against Ryback match next week, of which Sheamus will win again. So that's the way it'll go. This is the thing with Sheamus. A lot of his stuff just seems very throwaway, and I'm afraid it's probably going to continue. He will more likely start getting booed. I think post WrestleMania, because people are going to start just getting sick of him again, which happened before he got injured. So yeah, kind of moving on from that, we had a segment here which I didn't like either. Batista came out, and he basically
Del Rio interrupted him.
Yeah, before he could even say a word, Del Rio came out. And Del Rio, the funny thing about this, Batista, he couldn't rack his brain. He couldn't figure out anything that he had against Del Rio. He kept saying to him, I don't have anything against you. You must have forgotten the Twitter war that the guys had less than a month ago.
Yeah, and considering that's the reason why Del Rio interrupted you when you first returned.
Exactly. So, and they even reference that Twitter war on the products. I don't know who Batista's fooling. Maybe he's got a very short memory, the guy. Maybe wrestling at the Royal Rumble wiped his memory a little bit because he seemed very tired. So Del Rio starts a ruck with Batista anyway. Batista basically fights back and tries to get him in the Batista bomb, and Del Rio retreats, as a good heel always does. It sets a match between the pair at the Chamber. They haven't announced it, but it will happen. And The thing is with that, when they have the match at the chamber, I mean, I didn't like this segment anyway. It just seemed very odd. Like I said, with Batista going, I don't have any problem with you. It just seemed very odd because he had been saying that he had problems with the guy and he was gonna do all this. And
that's it.
And the fact that Del Rio's attacked him before and everything, there is that. So either Batista's very forgiving or he's just, like I said. But the thing is, if they have a match with this, one thing I've said stuff about Del Rio before, the fact I don't think he's very good on the mic, and I'll stand up to that today. I don't think he gets much of a fan response. One thing he does do very well, he wrestles well. He wrestles at a fast pace. I don't think Batista can wrestle at Del Rio's pace, personally. The way
I did sort of watch the whole thing. It was just like, oh look, Del Rio's going to get involved. Oh look, he's striking him. We're not gonna see it come out well for Del Rio.
No. I don't see them having a long match, but I don't think Batista's capable of it at this point. He hasn't had enough. He's too ring rusty. His stamina is not very, very good. We saw that at the Rumble. The guy blew up very quickly. I mean, he was number 28 or something, wasn't he? And I think
something like that,
he blew up within minutes of getting in there. So there is that. I don't think he can wrestle at Del Rio's rate, so I see this match being very short, and I think I see it ending quite decisively with Batista just getting the victory over this guy.
Yeah.
And obviously that's part of the reason why Del Rio's upset and wants to leave, because this is what he's been reduced to, basically jobbing for Batista. I've got nothing against Batista. I'm actually quite a big fan of Batista, personally. I think he could be really good for the company, especially the fact he's going to be there every single week. But he needs to start wrestling every single week, otherwise he's not going to get that ring rust off, and he's going to make himself look bad when he goes out into these big match situations. Let's say he goes in and wrestles Randy Orton, which the fans aren't going to like anyway if they keep it the way it is, because Bryan's not in there, and he can't perform on their main event show at WrestleMania. It's going to look really bad on the guy. So that's my thoughts about Batista. He needs to really build up on that stamina before he gets back.
No, that's it. He better be back in the gym as well, sort of back on the treadmill hard.
Yeah, I think the demands of a wrestler are in terms of match quality now, in my terms anyway, are higher, because you need to perform well. That's the reason why the likes of CM Punk and Daniel Bryan get cheered and they get a lot of support by wrestlers, by wrestling fans, is because they can perform very long, very high entertaining matches of high quality wrestling way. I don't think Batista can do that at the moment. I think he's capable of it. He's done great matches before, but I just don't think he's there yet, which I think is sort of a testament to the fact that maybe he thought back he's just going to Batista bomb a few people. It just doesn't work anymore. You do that, people will boo you the same way that they did with Ryback eventually. He was beating guys just very quickly and no one was that interested in him, especially with the fact they buried him as well. So
that's it.
I'm not saying that
WWE is definitely not going to. If they can avoid burying Batista, they will.
No, they're not going to bury Batista. No, the Batista will not get the same sort of you won't be treated the same as Ryback, because Batista's a far bigger star than Ryback ever has been. So that's the way it is, and the two aren't even in the same league in terms of star power. So there is that. So yeah, with that segment fresh in our minds, we actually managed to get a halfway decent match. There was a big bad middle part of this show, which was very, very poor. But if you stuck with it, you did get a good match at the end of the show. This wasn't, which was the main event. This wasn't the main event. Wyatt Family against Ziggler, Truth, and Xavier Woods.
Mm-hmm. Versus Ziggler, Truth, and his sidekick.
Yeah. Which I just said, and this was another decent six-man tag match. It wasn't one of the best ones that the Wyatt family have had. I mean, what was good about this match, I think the crowd were really hot for Ziggler, and when he came in, they got a good fan response when Ziggler came in. Savage drop kicks, which this guy is capable of, and he got some really good spots in this. It came off looking pretty strong, I think, personally, Ziggler in this. The Wyatts won. This match with
as a given.
Ziggler getting Sister Abigail all over his face, which is lovely.
Just to really grim it down. He's just got Abigail all over.
One of these times, I reckon, just Wyatt is just going to start French kissing the forehead of one of his opponents, and his tongue
just licks it.
Boogeyman style, but oh dear. The Shield did a similar promo that they were subjected to earlier, which was okay. It wasn't as good as Bray Wyatt one. The one thing I will say about this is that Bray Wyatt was brilliant in receiving this promo. He was shouting out all sorts of stuff, saying, "I'm ready for war. I love war.
I welcome it all."
Yeah.
I was just thank you, Bray, for more gold.
Yeah. So, that's cool. All in all, in terms of this program, I'm really excited to see Wyatt and Shield face each other. Like, so we talked about earlier on in the podcast that we want this to be an Elimination Chamber match, but it's not going to be. But this match will be good regardless. So I'm excited
definitely.
to see these guys. You look at that big fan response that they had when they went face to face. If you remember back when Brian was going against the Wyatts just at the start of their program, and they had an altercation between the two teams. The crowd were mental. They wanted these two to tear each other apart.
Oh yeah, definitely.
These two factions. So if they do that, then this is going to be really, really good. One of the matches I'm really excited for for the Chamber pay-per-view. Then we got that promo that we talked about with Alexander Rusev, very, very short, but we sort of got to see his handler Lana.
Mm-hmm.
I think this pair could work really, really well when he debuts, because if they have in NXT they have it that Rusev waits for Lana to give him the orders of decimating the opponents, and as soon as she says decimate him, that's exactly what he does. I think that would be very, very good. There's something you could do with this with Rusev. I think Rusev is less likely to fall into obscurity like the likes of Woods and I hope not Emma, who came up from NXT. So yeah, let's hope he doesn't, because I think there's something to this guy, and he's got a very unique wrestling style, as you saw at the Royal Rumble, and I like the fact he's got a manager beside him. Not enough wrestlers have managers beside them.
It's not even so much like it's a proper handler.
Yeah.
So it's very similar to sort of Brock Lesnar, Paul Heyman sort of thing.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly, and I mean it's different in that sense that Heyman normally is trying to stop Brock Lesnar beating the shit out of people, but Lana's more than happy to let Rusev just go mental at guys, which is fine, and that's fine. And Rusev isn't horrible in terms of giving promos. We haven't seen enough of him on the main roster, but he's not horrendous by any means on NXT. I've seen a few things, and he's got room to improve on those aspects of his character which aren't as good as his wrestling ability. So all in all, quite excited. If they treat this guy right, then you might have something there with this guy, especially if he can
definitely
as well. And Lana isn't exactly bad to look at either. She's quite an attractive woman.
Easy on the eyes.
Easy on the eyes, that's it. We had the next match, which was the Divas match. We actually had a singles match, Naomi against Aksana, who AJ Lee lovingly said that they now, what was it? Foxana, I think, is the tag team of Aksana, Alicia Fox. This match itself was of a higher quality than the ones that we've kind of been known of. I think I'm just happy the fact we're getting singles matches now, not
rather than matches. Sort of 12 Diva clusterfucks.
That's it. AJ Lee was back on commentary, which was brilliant. She's always been on commentary, better than all the guys. She was showing up all the guys on commentary again, and yeah, I mean, this in terms of length of matches, this Diva match was like a marathon, because they got a lot of time on this match. I'm sure other podcasts that we listen to will probably do the Divas stopwatch, and they will tell us exactly the time. I just haven't got the patience for such a thing.
Half the time I don't even watch them.
That's it. Yeah.
So I can't be held responsible for them.
Naomi got the win here, which set up obviously the match they're likely going to have at Elimination Chamber for the belt. I don't think Naomi will be the one to take the belt off AJ. I think she's just someone there. I think eventually, if they're going to take someone off the belt, it would probably be Natalya, because she's the kind of the head of the Total Divas, or maybe one of the Bella twins. We don't know. It'll probably be one of those two. Yeah. I don't see Naomi as being one of them. That will do that. But yeah, all in all, like I said, this match was of a higher quality. Still wasn't quite there, but it was of a higher quality.
Naomi took a dirty knee to the face.
Yeah, it was.
Which anyone who's had a look online, you can find it.
Yeah, exactly.
Her eye is huge at the moment.
So maybe a little bit of physical wrestling. Is kind of what we asked for beforehand. In terms to make these matches seem less flimsy, which they've always been. So we've said something positive about the Divas division. It's a first. There you go. Take it. That's what we're going to say. So there you are. Then they broke the news of Betty White being on Raw. We already talked about that. Then it came up to the main event. If you were going to catch Raw, if you've got half an hour and you only if you've only got a half an hour of free time and you're going to ask us what to catch on Raw, the main event would be that 30 minutes that you should spend your time on. This was a truly great match. These two have had good matches on Raw before, of this sort of quality before on Raw, which is ironic because a lot of their pay-per-view ones have been put in disrepute when they've been on for the belt, and they haven't been as good, in my opinion, than the ones they've had on Raw. So all in all, this is the sort of reasons why we watch wrestling. It's for these matches. Daniel Bryan pulls out these matches all the time. You look at the ones he won against Bray Wyatt at the Royal Rumble, which was a 5-star match. He had another one against Randy Orton today. He pulls these out everywhere, which is great for the guy, and obviously great for us for watching it. I'd hate to think of the quality of wrestling if you didn't have Daniel Bryan on that show at the moment, which is, but he is, and he is on the main event, so that's fine. Kane interfered during the match, but Bryan still got the victory. He actually got the pinfall victory against Randy Orton.
That's it, clean finish.
He did get the beat down after the show, but he still got the win.
I expected as much.
Yeah, and that's fine. I expect Randy Orton to lose a series of matches before the Chamber. They're going to try and build up to think Randy Orton is going to lose the belt, but he will retain. That's the way it will go. And
it's just classic. It's just classic booking. Just sort of make your champion seem vulnerable. Yeah. It's just like, oh, he's not as strong as we thought he was. He's not doing as well as we thought he could do. This could be. Oh no, never mind. He did it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. They're trying to make it seem as if they've been saying, oh, the odds are against Randy Orton. He's only got a 1 in 6 chance of winning. I hate when they say that, by the way, because it's like, do you really think the likes of like Christian is better than Daniel Bryan, or that Daniel Bryan has exactly the same chances as other guys in there and stuff, especially when I had like the likes of Santino. Remember Santino was in the I think was he? Yeah, he was in an Elimination Chamber match, wasn't he? Yeah, he was, and he got really close to winning the belt. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
And
oh god, yeah.
But he was like sort of saying like he's got exactly this % chance of winning at the Elimination Chamber, but like it's not every wrestler that's the same. That's not how odds work, sort of thing. But
yeah, that's just okay. Statistically, yes, but for the most part, like if you ended up sticking. Like, to use for the example, like Santino.
Yeah.
Like, if Santino was the first person to start off, and then, like, this is completely hypothetical, like, you literally, like, threw this sort of match together on, like, the WWE games, but, like, Santino starts off against Brock Lesnar.
That's not 50-50 chance of him winning.
That's not, match, yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like, by the time the third person, like, what was it, every 5 minutes a pod opens... Yeah, 5 minutes is going to be a very long time for Santino. And you probably won't see that 5 minutes.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, if you have your strongest competitor in the opening 2, then I mean, I know it's not to get really oh my god, it's terrible, and it's like, oh, statistics and all this lot. Considering it's wrestling, it is scripted, and I know exactly what's going to happen. Yeah. That someone backstage has gone, then this will happen, and then you come out of your pod, and then this will happen. But if you think about it, you could have your strongest person, first person, 5 minutes, plenty of time, bang, done.
Yeah.
Next person. Now it's still 1-on-1.
It's the equivalent of saying Undertaker against Zack Ryder at WrestleMania is a 50-50 because there's 2 guys in the ring. No, it's more like
that's it.
99.999 to 1, sort of thing. But that's the way it goes. So I don't like it when they do this sort of thing at the Chamber. But anyway, so that was the match. Like I said, this match was brilliant. If you're going to go out of your way to watch anything on this match, then anything on this show, this is the match. Just skip the Giants crap fest that was in the middle of this match. And the theme of the show was throwaway. This match was not throwaway. This was special. This was a good match. So
definitely.
But there was a lot of throwaway on this show for a 3-hour show. For about, let's say,
I didn't realise you could throw away that much in 3 hours.
Yeah, they did throw away a lot of stuff in this match, in this show. So, but I mean, I don't want to give it the cop out saying, "Oh, it's a mid pay-per-view schedule Raw." It's a couple of weeks going, but they should still try and make these Raws watchable at least, because a lot of this wasn't. Yeah. And like I said, the big match that I was excited to watch was the New Age Outlaws and Brotherhood match, which turned out to be probably the worst on the show. Yeah. I mean, Naomi against Aksana, I would rank that above that steel cage match. That steel cage match was horrendous. So that's the biggest condemnation I can really give of that steel cage match. It was really, really bad. A real disappointment, really. And if New Age Outlaws are going to continue to have these matches, then I just want the Usos to take the belts off them, and then they can go back to doing what they were beforehand. I don't want them to have a run if they can't perform to the quality of others, but we've already obviously got into that. Yeah. So what was your kind of thought of the show? Did you think that it was a big throwaway show along those lines?
It was a throwaway show, and it's like, as much as like, oh, it should always still be workable, it is a mid-card. Not a mid-card, but it is like a mid-month. Like, we're between two pay-per-views.
Mm.
Last one was Royal Rumble as well, so it's like this is where we're going to start seeing like Elimination Chambers when the stories will kick off.
Yeah.
And this is just sort of like, well, in the meantime,
yeah, we're going to kind of fill it with
have
garbage
stuff.
Yeah, essentially. But I don't think that. I think they could put better matches on the show and everything like that. I think we went into this last week where we talked about their bloated roster, the fact they try and give these guys time, but if you were to give them, maybe if you split it up a bit better, give these guys, instead of having a 10-minute match this week and a 10-minute match next week, why don't you just take them off 1 week and give them 20 minutes in one? They'd probably be better. They could tell a better story, come off looking better for it, and have a better match for us as the fans, and you give them next week off, whatever. If they really want to accommodate everyone along those lines, but we'll see how it goes there anyway. But so that was Raw this week. Wasn't particularly great. Wasn't that fun really. Apart from that last match. Hopefully closer to Elimination Chamber. The problem is next week you're probably going to see more of the same ilk. I think you're not going to have the Shield go against the Wyatts. They're probably going to have more matches, building them up. All the competitors of the Elimination Chamber are going to have more matches, which they will win. It's probably going to be very, very painfully predictable from now until the Chamber. And unfortunately, at the Chamber, I think it's quite predictable as well. So, on to a new segment we're going to do, Matt, because we didn't have any topics this week to go through. Every time that we haven't got anything exponentially that we've got, or things, because we don't want to do topics unless we've had time to think about it and get a good consensus and a good debate going on what we think or what we're going to talk about topics. So we're going to do the Superstar Spotlight for weeks that we don't have anything to fill the slot in. This won't be a weekly one, we'll just do it from time to time. And it will be with wrestlers that we think are on the tail end of their careers. So, you know, the ones that probably are going to be wrestling here, the odd match, they probably won't get another push. But they've had noteworthy careers regardless. And the first we're going to speak of is Rey Mysterio. Rey Mysterio is still wrestling today. He's wrestling on matches. He's been mostly involved in tag matches or 6-man tags against the likes of the Shield or the Wyatts. And injuries recently have really scuppered this guy's career. But let's go from the top. He has performed for ECW, then WCW, then WWE finally. He comes from a long lineage of wrestlers, most notably Rey Mysterio Sr., who was very well known and very well respected. He took very seriously his lineage and the mask and everything. He reached the promised land, I would say, when he won the World Heavyweight Championship in 2006. He won the Royal Rumble, if you remember, Matt. He was the longest winner. You know, he was in the
62 minutes, wasn't it? Number 2.
Yeah. And he won that. This was his redemption, his tribute to Eddie Guerrero's passing, that he was going to win the Royal Rumble and then win.
Yes.
The championship, which he did at WrestleMania against Kurt Angle and Randy Orton. He also won the WWE Championship, but he lost it on the same night to John Cena. If you remember, that was the night after CM Punk left the company after that great match that he had with Cena in kayfabe, and then they remade the belt, and then Cena asked Rey Mysterio to defend his belt after he just won it. Rey Mysterio stupidly said yes, and Cena beat him and became the champion. So he was...
What a shock. Cena wanted the belt. What a surprise.
Yeah, that's it. So all in all, I mean, that's the highlights of his career there. We're going to go into a few other bits that I remember, but all in all, the guy, for in terms of size and in an industry that's obsessed with the size of wrestlers, he's done awfully well for himself. He's won a lot of belts. He's been in the ascendancy for a long time. He's got good fan responses, and he's a really good wrestler as well. I mean, what's your overall thoughts of Mysterio before I go into some of his more memorable moments?
No, I could agree completely. I still reckon. I always think back fondly. I mean, it's not even of a match that he had, but do you remember? I can't remember which WrestleMania it was, but they had POD to perform the entrance music.
I'm sure that's the one where he won the belt. I'm sure it is, or something. I'm not sure.
I think it was. It was the same one that he had Motorhead as well.
Oh, I'm not sure then. I couldn't say for sure, unfortunately.
But
he used to come up with some very elaborate stuff, didn't he, for WrestleMania?
Oh, yeah, and it's like, especially even for like Rumble or just for pay-per-views in general, he'd come out with sort of like some really elaborate like headgear he did for a while.
Yeah.
And sort of keeping with themes, like we had the Avengers movie, so we had a Captain America gear, and all the other sort of stuff.
Like one he had as well at WrestleMania 19. I think he had a Daredevil one on.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I can't think of a single defining like moment. It just have fond memories of just a lot of matches.
I remember a few moments from his career, like I'm going to when he won the World Heavyweight Championship in 2006 after winning the Rumble. That was the biggest his career ever got.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And there was one thing about that segment as well, which is one of the things I put down here. There was an awful Randy Orton segment where. I've said this before, back before the relaunch, so all our listeners probably haven't heard this before. Batista did a promo basically on Eddie Guerrero after dying, and a lot of people give him stick for this because they think it's disrespectful. I disagree. He basically said Rey Mysterio was spouting with stuff, or Eddie Guerrero would be ashamed of you, Batista, and think of Eddie, and then he just basically said, Eddie's dead. He's not here anymore. So he said Eddie's dead, right? But it came off the way he said it was like Eddie's dead. He's not here anymore, and it didn't come off as disrespectful. He just basically said it was a fact. It was like he's gone. That is the point. Randy Orton, however, had a very different thing. He came out and said a lot of bad stuff that I wouldn't like to say on this podcast about Eddie Guerrero, and it came off very disrespectful, distasteful, and to this day I did not like the stuff that he came out with. And this was during that time where, if you remember, the whole building up to him winning the title, Rey Mysterio winning the belt at WrestleMania in 2006, was Randy Orton beat him after luring him in, after saying all this stuff about Eddie Guerrero, and took his Royal Rumble spot away from him, but then Teddy Long gave it to him back and made it a 3-way match at WrestleMania, of which Rey Mysterio won. There was a promo that, like I said, that Randy Orton did. It was horrendous. It was really it was sick. It was not very nice. And it was, a lot of people give stick to Batista of what he said. They should go back and look at Randy Orton's segment. This was a billion times worse than what Batista said.
Definitely.
And like I said, I don't even think Batista's one was that bad personally. As a guy who's very fond of Eddie Guerrero, and was one of his favourite wrestlers during the time, when he died. I took it very personally. When he said this stuff about, maybe that's what they wanted to do, but it wasn't as if I was like, oh, I really want to see Randy Orton get his ass kicked. I was like, this is really distasteful. But that's down to Randy Orton, not Rey Mysterio. But that's part of that storyline anyway. I thought it would be referenced to bring that up. Anyway, one other bits that he had with Eddie, Rey Mysterio had a ton of great matches with Eddie Guerrero. He had the storyline of the I'm Your Puppy storyline. Do you remember this, Matt?
Oh, God.
Where Eddie was Dominic's father. And see, this is putting a smile on your face now.
Remind me of this.
Yeah.
Yes.
They had a match for the custody of Dominic, which is obviously Law, whoever won that match. Rey Mysterio obviously won it and got his son back, but the storyline was that Eddie Guerrero had sex with Vicky Guerrero. No, of course not. He had sex with Vicky Guerrero lots of times. Sorry, he had sex with.
I would hope he had sex with his wife.
Yeah, he had sex with Rey Mysterio's wife, and then Dominic was his son, and he was Dominic's puppy, and he had this shirt going around for ages called I'm Your Puppy. And I remember Eddie Guerrero having this segment where he sat down with a storybook and he was telling the story of how he he conceived Dominic. So that was one of the storylines that makes me think of Rey Mysterio, because more Eddie Guerrero, but that was one of the more entertaining and kind of strange segments that you'd never get in today's wrestling scene that involved Rey Mysterio, and he was he was a good enough face in that, so that was fine. The other thing as well, I guess, that we would talk about was his demasking, the appalling demasking that he had in WCW. If people obviously don't know, Lucha Libre wrestlers, their mask is all about them. Their mask is very powerful towards their character and who they are. It's got a long lineage, and he lost a match and he got demasked, which was a Vince Russo idea, which did not do anything good because they were selling tons of his masks as merchandise. So he basically just killed that merchandise sale.
Yeah. Which was like all the merchandising money just gone.
He was he stayed demasked for a while because that was the rules of the sort of the lucha libre, that once you lose your mask you do not put it back on. That was the rule.
Yeah.
So you didn't get any heat for that from the Mexican audience. It was just that was it. When he actually came back to WWE, Vince McMahon was very adamant that he should put his mask back on, and this was very disrespectful in terms of the Mexican fans. They did not like the fact that he put his mask back on. Rey Mysterio went through all the illegitimate means. He actually went to the Lucha Libre organization or whatever they're called and asked permission to put it back on, which he did. So he went through all the the traditional means to try and get it back. But a lot of Mexican wrestlers kind of turned their back on Rey Mysterio then when he came back with the mask, because it was treated as something very against tradition. Even though he's been demasked, I know he didn't want to be demasked anyway when he was in WCW, but that's the way it went down anyway. So there's a little bit of tidbit of information for you there. The other bit I'd say about him is his debut in WWE was really good. They built him up for a while, and if you remember his debut, they had like a steel cage match, and the actual cage for some reason was really, really high up. It wasn't like the cages of nowadays. It was almost like they had two cages stacked on top of each other, and then Rey Mysterio climbed to the top, and they had like three guys there, and he basically did a giant crossbody and knocked them all down in the middle of the ring.
Yeah.
It was a really spectacular way for him to enter the company, and yeah, he's done really well for himself. You can't say anything bad about Mysterio. The only thing I'd say the reason he's not really relevant in WWE now is because he had all those injuries, and he's been stuck in no man's land for quite a while. So, but I mean, really, can you think of any other guy, Matt, who of that size and weight that's been able?
Well, it's like, was he the big? He's the biggest little guy.
Yeah.
And the ultimate underdog sort of thing, and it's so true. And the fact he's had good matches against some of the biggest guys as well.
Yeah.
In both height and build as well.
Yeah, he's had some decent matches against Batista, and that's from two different worlds. He actually had 4 tag team championship reigns with 4 different people, so that's quite interesting.
No, that's true. Yeah.
He had like Eddie Guerrero, Edge, Batista, and one other I can't remember. Probably Chavo Guerrero or something. I don't know. I can't say for sure.
I can't remember.
But yeah, he was a guy I think who came over really well because he obviously wrestled in WCW and ECW beforehand. He already become accustomed to American wrestling. But you look at him and Sin Cara, the original Sin Cara when he came in, Rey Mysterio adapted and almost thrived in the American wrestling audience, whereas Sin Cara just did not accept that he had to change his character or learn English or do all these other stuff to them. But the only other thing I think is a blip on Rey Mysterio is that he's got 2 wellness violations on his list. Like Randy Orton at the moment. So that's probably one of the reasons why he hasn't been pushed very hard recently for substance abuse, which is I think he got caught for taking steroids at a time. I can't really say that for sure. I know that there was a lot of rumours circulating about what he was taking, and he was saying he was taking supplements and stuff. But at the end of the day, we don't know the full details of that, so I don't like to go into it anyway. But in terms of Rey Mysterio, in a company dominated by guys that are bigger, taller, stronger than he is, he's done really well for himself, and he is a Hall of Fame inductee in the future. I am absolutely 100% sure of that.
Yeah.
So that is absolutely
that's a given.
Yeah, you can't find many better in that sort of role than Rey Mysterio, and like I said, he adapted so well, and he had some really great matches in ECW as well against lots of Juventud Guerrero and Psychosis, that he had. Some really great. I mean, if you want to watch classic, really fast-paced, even faster than what he is now, matches with Rey Mysterio, and go watch some of his ECW matches. They are absolutely bonkers. They really are, but they're really fun. They're really good to watch.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And yeah, they're classic matches and stuff. And like I said, if you want to watch some of his stuff in ECW, please do it before he got the mask taken off, because it's just he had good matches after his mask was taken off. It's just all the allure was gone. The magic was gone with Rey Mysterio at that point.
Yeah,
and it was one of the dumbest moves in history. I can understand why Vince McMahon wanted the mask back up, because there's merchandise to be made there, and Vince Russo.
Yes, you can make money out of a luchador just so easily because it's all bright colours and masks.
Yeah,
and kids love.
Like, as soon as they took the mask off him, he lost his magic, sort of thing.
Almost completely forgetting he's in Ready to Rumble.
Yeah, he is unmasked as well.
Very briefly.
Very briefly. I think he's wrestling when at the beginning when they go see the show or something.
Yeah.
I watched that match too much when I was a kid because I just thought, this is cool and stuff like that. And I still do. I know a lot of wrestling fans are like, it's really stupid and stuff, but I was a kid when I watched it and I thought it was
To this day, I still love it.
Yeah, when I believed kayfabe was real, and I was just like, sort of thing. So yeah, that's the way it goes. When I was a sparkling-eyed kid who still saw colour in the world, and I didn't know the ins and outs of pro wrestling, and I wish I could kind of go back to that sometimes. Kind of forget it all and suspend my belief 100%, because wrestling would be so much more fun.
Yeah.
Regardless of that, but. It's a different age now. It's not in the age of like the 80s or the 70s, where people genuinely thought every single thing that these guys were doing were 100% legit, and
that's true.
That's not what we live in anymore. It's more entertainment, but I think that's a topic all in of itself, really. So yeah, that's Rey Mysterio for you. He's won a bunch of titles. He won the IC Championship a couple of times. He's won a lot of belts. Like I said, he was WWE champion all of maybe an hour and a half, maybe. So, maybe that was just their way of saying thank you and then taking the belt straight off him again. Maybe, I don't know. But I think it's that 2006 World Heavyweight Championship win and the Royal Rumble that will be his crowning glory. I think that will be what he will be remembered for in terms of how big he got in wrestling. He wasn't. I mean, his title reign when he got the belt wasn't anything spectacular, but the build up to it. I mean, people got behind the guy because he was fighting for the memory of Eddie. So that all came off really well, and you could feel for the guy during that thing as well, because you could tell when Eddie died, Rey Mysterio was really shook up. He was really damaged. They were good friends, and it hit him really hard. It hit him as hard as any of his as Chavo. They were brothers. They were Rey Mysterio and Eddie, and. They wrestled a bunch of matches together, and they've all been of good quality. So that's all we can say.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Anything else you want to add to that, Matt? Or are we done for this week's?
I have very little to add, actually. No.
There wasn't much news this week, so this is going to be a kind of a quick podcast there. I hope you guys enjoyed this podcast. If you did, leave us a like and subscribe to the channel if you want to catch any more. We often do every now and then extra podcasts in the middle of the week when we're feeling like it. So subscribe to the channel, you won't miss them. And we normally upload.
But when we feel like it, or when a pay-per-view rolls around.
That's it, yeah. And when. If you've been listening to the show a lot, then you know that we do this every weekend. It might be uploaded on like a Saturday or a Sunday. It'll be sometime over the weekend for you anyway. Often on a pay-per-view, we might even like get it up a bit earlier, because it gives you more time to listen to the podcast before the pay-per-view goes up. There's no point listening to our predictions like during the show, so we obviously will try to get it up. So yeah, like I said, if you guys enjoyed it, please hit the like button and support our show. If you can share it around, share it to your friends, we really appreciate it. The show is growing, and we really thank you for that, guys. I've been noticing that we've got new subscribers. The views are going up on all our podcasts. We're really happy for that. So thanks a lot for the support, but if you could give us even more support, that would be great. If you've got any questions you want to ask us, we'd be more than happy to answer them. We're going to build up a big one and do as one of our topics one week, so send us in a question and we'll answer it for you guys there. We'd be more than happy to. And apart from that, I hope you guys have a great week, and I hope you guys enjoy your wrestling this week, even though it was quite hard for us too.
Well, if we think... Well, it's not next Monday, it's going to be the Monday after, the Monday before Chamber.
Yeah. Well, me and Matt are actually going to be able to do the podcast together at the Chamber, so that should be interesting, as he comes over and visits me in a different country. So we actually live in different countries. So yeah, that should be interesting. Whenever we do those, it's always a really good podcast, because we're basically bouncing off each other.
Rather than just relying on Skype.
Exactly, yeah. Oh no, we've destroyed the illusion now, Matt. They decided you're not a ghost.
I can be. You do the that test call you have to make on Skype.
Yeah.
What's to say I'm not one of them?
Oh, maybe.
The mystery is
you could be a walking hologram for all we know.
That's it.
And the tears of Daniel Bryan fans that you didn't come out as number 30 fuels your power cells. That's how it goes. Yeah. Mm-hmm. You should be powered for quite a few years now, I'd say.
I won't. Like until the tears of Punk not returning.
Yeah, that's it, and then you'll be fine. Yeah, thanks a lot for keeping up with our craziness here, guys. Like I said, thanks a lot for supporting the show. I've noticed that you guys are doing it, and I hope you guys have a great week. Thanks a lot now.
Have a good one.
Bye bye.